Welcome everyone, this is Tony Martinez, broker of XtremeRealtyTeam, and this is another edition of Real Estate Talk Live. We thank you for tuning in. Today, as always, I'm welcomed by my good friend and special legal counsel, Omar Arcia of the Arcia Law Firm. How have you been, Omar?
I'm doing great. Thank you, Tony. How are you doing?
Great. So folks, if this is your first time tuning into our show, it's kind of special. I think it's unique. You know, what we try to do here is we have a dual audience. Either you're a real estate agent seeking more training and understanding of contracts and how to increase your business, or you're a consumer, you're a home seller, home buyer, home investor, and you need some guidance and some direction, and you're also wanting to get some of your questions answered. Well, based on that, you're in the right place. So today, we're going to go fast and furious because I'm going to spend some time with Omar, and then I have a very special guest that's going to be coming on a little bit later to talk about the lending side. We have Gabriel Acosta is here from EMB Lenders, and I tell you what, he'll forget more about mortgages and loans than most people will ever learn. So, but this first segment is all about you, brother.
Well, I mean, it's all about us, right?
Yeah,
it's all about everyone. It's all about everyone that's watching, because I think that there's some really hot topics that are going on right now, and you and I were going to talk about a hot topic too. But I want to give the folks that are watching kind of a snapshot of what's been going on with foreclosures and real estate law and that sort of thing over the last couple of months that are really hot and people should be aware of, especially if you're a real estate agent.
Yeah.
Especially if you're dealing with folks that are at risk of foreclosure or in the middle of a foreclosure. You need to be aware of these changes in the law. I mean, for a long time, people were saying, well, if there's no activity in the file, or if they haven't sued me for foreclosure and it's been more than 5 years, well, that means they can't ever come after me. And that means that I'm going to get the house free and clear of any liens or mortgages. Well, that whole notion was put to rest last year in November when the Florida Supreme Court said, no, they can actually sue you again, even though it's been more than 5 years, so long as they use a different date of default. Well, that gave us a little hope, right?
Yeah.
So if they sue you again and they're using the same date of default that has already been resolved in the previous foreclosure, then you would think, wait a second, they're doing something wrong. They need to pick another date of default. Well, just recently, and that's kind of the hope that we had for homeowners.
Right.
Recently, the Supreme Court was looking at a case that was directly on that issue and that would have given homeowners the ammunition they needed to go into court and say, no, the bank sued me on the same event of default, therefore they can't sue me. They need to pick another date. So
for clarification, we're talking about Florida, right? It's the Florida Supreme Court?
That's right, the Florida Supreme Court.
Right, because we're probably being viewed by people and agents from different states and everything, but for the purposes of this conversation, we're talking about where we're based out of, and that's Florida.
Yeah, okay. And I appreciate that clarification, because statute of limitations laws and the way they're interpreted are very different across the nation.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Florida is kind of the hotbed for this litigation because we've had so much foreclosure litigation. But statute of limitations issues are viewed very differently in other states.
So can I maybe reiterate in my layman's terms? So what happens is, and if you're wondering why are we even talking about foreclosures, I thought those were done. That's one of the things that Omar and I share in common is our passion to help people that are losing their homes. And because it's not front page news anymore, a lot of folks are under the impression that, hey, it's all good, and it's not. Florida is still one of the leading states when it comes to foreclosure. We're in the top 10. There's tens of thousands of individuals that are losing their homes right now. And one of our concerns is that they're not seeking the right help, getting their questions answered, taking some sort of action that can either assist them in maybe staying in their home, though it's less likely that that's a possibility given circumstances now. But if you have no choice but to exit, how can you exit with more dignity, with the least amount of negative consequences to your pocketbook, your family, your future, your ability to buy in the future? So in essence, there was a niche out there of individuals that were under the impression that if they just stayed real quiet and the bank did not come after them for 5 years, the end result would be free house. That's gone.
That possibility at this point is gone, because even if you've received a foreclosure in the past and that foreclosure has been dismissed, and they attempted again a second foreclosure, and that foreclosure has been dismissed. Essentially, what the Florida Supreme Court said is that they can keep foreclosing on you ad infinitum. The only apparent caveat to that is that they can only seek interest payments and charges during the 5-year period before the filing of the complaint. So the court is essentially limiting them to those 5 years of interest payments. So it may have been that you haven't made a mortgage payment in 10 years. Well, the bank technically, again, if the court follows the law, they will only have a right to seek interest payments during the last 5 years, as well as any late charges and other expenses related to your loan.
So what do you do? So here's a scenario. I'm a real estate broker. I approach this from how can I potentially help you? Well, if you've explored all of your options for staying in the home, and the one individual in the company that you can speak to is Omar and his law firm, as far as doing everything possible to keep you in your home. But if all of those options have been exhausted and you have no choice but to exit the property, I'm going to suggest that you look into whether you qualify for a short sale or not. So what a short sale is if you're underwater on a property. Now, I want to make that very clear because you may not be underwater on your property, but you may be behind on your mortgage payments and you are being foreclosed on. If there's any good news there for you at all, is that you can put your house on the market as a regular sale. The proceeds are enough to pay the bank or banks off. And if there's anything left over, that's for you to keep. But there's still a lot of folks out there underwater. And then there's not enough that can be generated from the sale to pay off the loan or loans, the fees, the closing costs, and everything else. And that's where you really need to explore if a short sale might be right for you. As a company, Xtreme Realty Team, we take pride in making that one of our missions. Unfortunately, a lot of real estate companies do everything they can to avoid short sales. They're not easy. I get it. There are easier ways to make money in real estate. But it's not always about the easy approach. It's also about what helps the consumer for their future.
Yeah, that's what we're seeing a lot, unfortunately, is a lot of real estate agents are shying away from short sales because they do require a lot of work to get them through. But if you have a niche practice where you're specializing in short sales, and if you're working with a law firm like our law firm that has a loss mitigation department where all we do in that loss mitigation department is loan modifications and short sales. That's basically all we do all day long. So when we're able to work on those short sales for your clients, that means that you've already increased the likelihood that you're going to get that deal closed, you're going to get your commission. Yeah, it may cost your client some money to hire a law firm to get this process all the way through, but at the end of the day, you're not taking time as a realtor, as an agent, to process the short sales, to make the phone calls, to organize the documents that you need to submit, to make the phone calls to the client, to follow up, to update documents. You're not doing all that legwork. You have a law firm like the Arcia law firm that's behind you doing all the legwork for you. And at the end of the day, all you got to do is show up to the closing to pick up your check. But there's so many real estate agents that are passing up that excellent opportunity at every level. And we've been to so many different areas where real estate agents are saying the same thing. They're just too much work. They require too much energy. I don't have time for it. I don't have, between the time that I'm showing properties and I'm calling back clients, I don't have time to call back banks and provide them with information.
Yeah, you don't need to.
Well, you don't need to.
No,
just contact a law firm.
Yeah, and look, the reality is that you as a real estate agent out there, you really ought to look at this niche. For no other reason, and that is that most real estate agents will avoid it at all costs. So I look at short sales as low-hanging fruit. These folks need help. They're not being approached by a plethora of different agents out there, so you can be the one that goes out there and does it. Now, selfishly, I got to tell you that there are very few firms, if any, out there that are in a position to support you as a real estate agent like we can, because it's a passion of ours. You want to be associated with a company that the broker can actually answer your questions when you have them on a short sale. You as a consumer, write these words down, okay? Just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Right.
Anybody that's a licensed real estate agent can assist you with a short sale. That doesn't mean that they should. way too many people end up losing their homes to foreclosure because they hired the wrong real estate agent. You need to interview that agent. Do they have a track record for success? How many have they done? What's their experience? Who's backing them up? At the end, please explore your options. So on your screen, you're seeing over and over again our contact information here. I'm happy to answer questions for real estate agents and consumers alike. Omar is willing to do the same thing as well.
Right, and I think what we're also seeing is that real estate agents want to do the short sale. They think they can get the short sale done, but the time frame in their mind is probably a lot longer than the court will give that particular homeowner. I mean, particular homeowner could be looking at a foreclosure sale. You may not have the time to process the full short sale. Now, kind of turning back to what happened, last year, we talked about the fact that Florida Supreme Court now said you can file an action beyond the 5 years. Well, we had that hope because there was actually some disputes in the lower courts as to whether or not you had to use a different date for the default. And we were hoping that the Supreme Court would say, yes, you do have, consistent with our opinion last year, you do have to use a different date for the default. But unfortunately, some lower courts have now ruled that you can use this magical language, which says the date of default and all subsequent defaults.
Yeah.
That means that the bank can just kind of hand pick whatever default date they want. Yeah. And based on that, they can file new foreclosure and they can take away your home. Well, the Florida Supreme Court took jurisdiction initially of something like that, and then just recently, not even 2 weeks ago, said, no, that's been decided already in the courts below. We're going to give back jurisdiction to those courts, and you guys can handle that. So basically what I believe is that the Florida Supreme Court turned their back on Florida homeowners completely. We think this decision was completely wrong. It was a misguided decision. I think it's politically charged decision because the Florida Supreme Court didn't want to touch this issue with a 10-foot pole. They already screwed it up with respect to the decision they had last year, and this year they screwed it up even more. If they were 2 feet in the mud last year, now they're neck deep in the mud, and they're not going to be able to get out of it. What's going to happen is this is going to lead to more litigation, more uncertainty. So unless the Florida Supreme Court steps up and takes the position of the arbiter of the laws like they should be in the state of Florida, they're never going to clear up this issue. This issue is going to perpetuate through the court system, and it's never going to be cleared up until the Florida Supreme Court really takes a stand on this. And they've just refused to take a stand on this. And by doing this, please don't mince my words. They have turned their backs on Florida consumers.
Wow. If you were holding the mic right now, you would have dropped it and walked away.
Let me tell you something.
You're passionate about this.
I'm very, I'm inflamed about this decision because it's not just that, okay, we think that those decisions are consistent with our decision. They have basically just dropped the ball and said, no, you guys deal with it. So they they cleaned their hands, they turned their backs on Florida homeowners and said, you're on your own. We've decided everything in favor of the banks, even though it's contrary to every single law that we have in the state of Florida dealing with statute of limitations and something called res judicata. We're going to turn our backs on Florida homeowners. You guys resolve it on their own. We're going to favor the banks because the banks can do no wrong. They're what? They're too big to fail. So we're going to make sure that the Florida homeowners get the stick this time, and the banks will do their very best to fix it. You know what? They didn't fix it the first time. They're not going to fix it again. They're going to be more emboldened, and they're going to stick it to the Florida homeowners even deeper. And as Florida real estate agents, you guys have the responsibility now to go back to these homeowners and say, guys, as much as I'd love to tell you that the Florida courts are going to back you up because you do have a valid claim, you do have valid claims that the bank did something wrong, the courts are not backing up Florida homeowners. They're siding with Florida banks 99% of the time, and it's tremendously unfortunate for Florida consumers across the state.
Well, folks, if you know of someone that's in this situation, or you yourself are in this situation, don't you want someone with that kind of passion in your corner? And again, the Arcia Law Firm is here to help you folks. So now we're going to turn the page.
It's my Hispanic blood. It runs a little hot.
I'm with you, brother. So listen, let's go ahead and keep it going now, because one of the things we like to touch on during our shows are aspects of the real estate contracts, because if there's an area that confuses the heck out of people, even a lot of real estate agents, it's contract language.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I want to touch on something, and that is, and you and I in the past have talked quite a bit about the as-is purchase contract here in Florida and the inspection period,
Right.
and what can and can't be done during that inspection period. So to kind of sum it up, in the as-is, pretty much has an all-purpose out for the buyer in the event that, excuse me, at their sole discretion, they are not happy with the findings of the inspection and everything else. I'm trying to take all this language and reduce it to, here's the deal. You're under contract as an as-is. You agree upon a specific amount of time. During that time, you can have the property inspected. If you see anything wrong with the property, you can elect to, at your sole discretion, to walk away from the transaction. That's that, but sums it up?
That's exactly right. The FAR bar, as is 5, has that opportunity for any potential buyer to walk away from the contract within that inspection period. It could be 15 days or whatever it's agreed to by the parties. And it says specifically that's a buyer's discretion.
So we're in agreement on that, and we've talked about this. So if you have any questions, just tune into some of the other shows where we go into a lot of what ifs and everything else. But something came up that was really interesting. And the point that came up is they weren't arguing whether the buyer could cancel upon their sole discretion. The argument that was raised by another real estate broker was, no, but the inspection must physically take place. They cannot exercise their right to cancel unless they have actually done the inspection. You say...
Well, what I say is that contract law in the state of Florida is very tricky, because sometimes there are statements that are in a contract that can lead to an interpretation of something called the implied duty of good faith and fair dealing. Here's how it sums up. If you've got a contract term that gives one party the discretion to do something within that contract, that discretion must be exercised in a manner that's in good faith and fair dealing. So if you have a situation where you have a buyer that wants to exercise their right to terminate the contract during the inspection period, he or she can do so for no reason at all. Okay, without doing the inspection.
So they don't have to go do the inspection.
Correct. They don't have to do the inspection. For no reason at all, they can terminate. Now, if you have evidence that that particular buyer is exercising their discretion in bad faith or for some unfair dealing, then at that point, then you can say, no, you can't terminate based on that reason, and you can actually seek specific performance of the contract based on the fact that they have violated or have breached the what's called the implied covenant of good faith and fair dealing. I did a lot of litigation on this issue as it relates to the opening of new franchises and that sort of thing in different locations, but with respect to real estate contracts, the same theory holds water, which is that if you have evidence of that buyer exercising their discretion in bad faith, for example, I'll give you one example. What if the buyer has some kind of racial motivation of the seller? What if they have some ulterior motive that's documented in an email, in a letter?
Maybe buyer's remorse. Maybe they say, hey, I don't want to buy it now. They communicate that to the seller. The seller says, sorry, you don't get to cancel for that. And the buyer says, oh, but I can cancel for the inspection.
Right. Once the toothpaste is out of the tube, it's very hard to put it back in. Right? So once it's out there, it's out there. And if you have evidence of a buyer operating or acting in bad faith in connection with a cancellation of a contract, then you may have a claim for breach of implied duty of good faith and fair dealing. If it's a FAR bar as is, you're going to have to go through a mediation where most likely this matter will probably be resolved.
Well, we're coming to the end of this segment, folks, and just to kind of give you an idea, and you saw, we really delve into a lot of these issues so that you as real estate agents can benefit as consumers as well. So don't go anywhere, because we're going to say goodbye to Omar right now because he's got to go help some folks. And then we're going to bring on our other special guest today, which is Gabriel Acosta of EMB Lenders. And we're going to talk mortgages. We're going to talk loans and what's going on right now. So we'll be back in just a bit with our special guest. Thank you. Okay, as I mentioned earlier during my segment with Omar, as part of making this show as on topic as possible, we try to bring in special guests that can speak on subjects that you as a real estate agent or you as a potential buyer or seller of real estate can take interest in and benefit from. And I'm very excited to introduce to you who I think is an exceptional individual. Gabriel and I have known each other now for several years, and he is the CEO of EMB Lenders. So welcome, Gabriel. How are you?
Thank you, Tony. I'm doing great. What about yourself?
Fantastic, man. I'm even better now that you're here.
I feel the same way also.
So Gabriel Acosta is one of those individuals that just motivates the room when he walks in. And the first time we met was in Weston a few years ago when he was helping one of my agents during a closing. And since then, we've gotten to know each other, and your company has helped my wife and I, Gabi, on several occasions in the purchase of property and everything else. So it's great when I get a chance to introduce someone that I know, like, and trust, someone that I've been able to utilize ourselves. And I can speak to your credibility and to your efficiency and to your professionalism. So I'm going to put you on the spot. I want you to relax, man. I promise I was going to be gentle. You know, I want to be real gentle with you.
Okay, I will then.
You know, listen, you have nothing to worry about. What I'm going to try to do here is give you an opportunity to speak to our audience. Awesome. And as I mentioned, our audience is comprised of real estate professionals as well as consumers. Tell them who you are, how you started, and we'll take it from there.
Awesome. Tony, but before we go on there, also I would like to say about you. I think this is the first thing the first time that we met, we clicked right away.
Yeah, we did.
And I also I was fortunate enough to be here one of the first weeks when you started with Xtreme Realty.
Yes.
And I was very honored for me to be here to do a speech on that part to motivate the agents, because that's what we live about.
Yeah.
You know, without you guys, we're nobody. That's the way I feel. You know, you are the blood of the business in real estate. Everything around United States, this nation moves about real estate. Real estate doesn't move, nobody moves on that part.
Absolutely.
And I was talking to your wife, to Gabriel, and I mean, you guys have done such a great job. You not only excellent recruiters, because recruiting, you know, we can recruit people.
Right.
But it's not about recruiting, it's about maintaining.
Yeah, retention.
Retention is so important. And I just want to let you know that I'm very proud for you to allow us to be also an Xtreme Realty, you know, working as a team.
Yes.
And we're very excited to be here, to be honest, on that part.
Well, thank you. You're one of our preferred lenders. As an office, you know, we have an open office, but I just don't let anybody in and just let anybody have access to our agents. So, you know, tell us how EMB Lenders came about.
Yes, EMB Lenders was born in 2005. It's been around for over 12, 13 years. And the reason that I came out, I was a loan officer. And what I saw in most of the companies, lenders out there, Tony, they are there to do loans. Yeah. But I say, you know what? Real estate agents, they need more than a loan.
Right.
They need support. They need somebody that can take them to another level. Even though they are realtors, they come out of the classes. And then now, what should I do? Yeah. And I am being blessed since I was 18 years old, you know, to learn how to do what is called, how to handle objections, how to do prospecting. I mean, I used to doing door knocking door to door, literally door to door, at least 50, 60 doors a day.
Wow.
And that's how I lost my fear. So I say, Gabriel, what can you do to help all these people that they want to make it, but they have what you went through, the fear to make it? So I realized, you know what, it's not about just lending. It's about changing, making an impact, a positive impact in people's life. And that's what EMB Lenders is all about. What can I do to the real estate professionals? What can we do to make sure that they just don't think I'm just a realtor? No, I am a realtor.
Got it.
Proud to have that name.
Yep.
And what we do is that. So what we started doing for years, Tony, and you made us like that, is doing seminars. Going to real estate offices, says, listen, what can I do? Tell me what is that you want us to talk about. And we don't have to talk about mortgage. I'm serious. We don't do it. You have seen that.
Yeah, because I've seen you teach on sales. I've seen you teach on motivation. So
personal growth, how to grow your own business, and because they are independent with your help at the end. But what can we do to make it better? And that's how we just continue growing. And EMB Lenders was developed to have like a silver plate. It's okay. Tell me, Tony, what you need. Gloria, what you need. Steve, what you need as a realtor.
Right.
You need programs. People, you're tired of lenders saying no to you, that they don't want to approve you.
Right.
So because we didn't close down in the tough times, 2007, 2008, we are honored and proud to say that we were able to remain open. We were able to get programs that a lot of people out there did not have years ago.
Well, when you brought up the
2011.
fact that you started in 2005, the first thing I was thinking about is that was just about 2 years before the end of the world, where a lot of people became ex-mortgage brokers during that time.
Right, correct.
And so you were able to weather that storm, and you've grown, and I see you continue to grow. You're licensed now in at least, how many states?
Over 20 states.
20 states.
Correct.
Okay, so that's fantastic. So what I want to do, because it's kind of my job to make sure that in a short period of time I kind of stay on this. As I'm listening to you and I'm going, listen, if you're a real estate agent out there, if you're a manager, a team leader, a broker, it might make perfect sense for you to reach out to Gabriel and bring him into your office, and you can serve several tasks. It could be talking about mortgages, but you could also help them to bring out the most in their agent.
That is correct. That is correct.
So that's great. So I hope that at least several people out there will take you up on that offer.
Awesome.
To go out there and do it. Now, as far as programs, what really makes you, because, one of the jokes I have is if there's a crowd out there and you throw a rock and it lands on one of them, it's probably a real estate agent. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? And I think followed by real estate agent, we have quite a few people that are in mortgages
the mortgage
as well.
industry, right?
All right, so I'm a real estate agent. I'm maybe shopping for a new mortgage person to work with. I'm a consumer thinking about why EMB? Why should they call you? What are you going to bring to the table as far as programs? I know you're going to bring fabulous service. I know you're going to bring that personal touch.
Right.
But on the topic of programs themselves, what do you offer?
Let me be very straightforward, Tony. It's like you showing a property, right? You're doing a listing presentation, right? You go and showing, you have an appointment, and then you walk as a realtor, and then you tell the client, here is the kitchen. No way, really? Are you serious?
Yeah,
here is the bathroom. You're not selling the bathroom, you're selling a dream.
Yeah.
When you go to a room, you say, so tell me, is your little Tony's going to be living in that room, or your little, or your princess?
Right.
Sell the dream. So the same thing goes with us. You know what? Yeah, everybody has FHA. Everybody has conventional. So do we have special programs? Yes, we do. The way we work it. So the same, it's about experience. A lot of people have gone to lenders or mortgage. We don't call them brokers anymore. They're mortgage loan originators, Tony.
Right.
And then they come to our company and they say, ABC couldn't do a loan. This company couldn't do a loan. Mm-hmm. It's called lack of experience.
Okay.
Because they don't know the guidelines. They don't know what FHA allows. That's one reason. So what it makes us different is that we are experts. We are masters in mortgage. Okay. We know when a consumer sit with us, it's not a loan. I know we sell money.
Right.
That's the industry. But that's not how we see it. We change people's life to own a home. Right. So we take it very, very seriously when we talk to them. And we do ask a very good questions. All our people, our loan officers, they're not just a mortgage loan originator license. They have to become a mortgage banker. They got to become a mortgage advisor.
Got it.
They want to do it. So that's what it makes us different now. Besides programs, FHA, because we are direct lenders. We are not just a middle person.
Would you explain that?
Yes.
What is the essence of a direct lender?
There are three types, Tony, of in the industry to lend money.
Okay.
For homes. One is the mortgage brokerage business.
Okay.
It's a business that they don't do loans. They just take their clients. They have what is called
they farm it
and
out.
they farm it to different lenders like ourselves or investors or to the different banks.
Right.
But they don't control anything. They just have to. They gather info. They send it. And they lose control because it goes in underwriting.
Right. Okay.
And then based on to the investor's mercy, they're gonna get an approval or not.
Got it.
And it's not bad. They're doing a great job also on that part. Second is what is called the correspondent lender. Okay. Correspondent lender is you have the mortgage license lender, right? Look at what I said, the mortgage license lender.
Right.
But you do not underwrite the file most of the times. You act as a lender. You act as a lender. People think that you're underwriting the file, but it gets sent to the investor.
Got it.
By default, that's closed under that lender's name.
Got it.
And that's it. Not bad, even better, obviously, on that part. And then it becomes the direct lenders. We are the bank.
It's your money.
Yeah, it's our money. We don't have to go. When you see the closing, you see the closing. You don't see, wait, hold on, the investor is trying to send the money to you. We do our own. We have like 8 underwriters. That they underwrite our files.
Right.
We have everything, QC, everything is compliance, everything is in-house. So what's the difference? We take control. We know his system. We know that the file has to move in so many days. We don't have to depend in the mercy of nobody. Why we do that, Tony? Because we know that by doing that, we are pleasing the realtors to do a better job. And that's the bottom line. And that's what we do.
Well, that makes sense because your lifeblood is the real estate agent.
100%.
And so when you make a real estate agent happy, they're going to do everything they can to bring you more and more business.
That is
so are you doing anything in the area? So for example, we talked about FHA. Obviously, you offer the conventional products as well. VA.
Yes, 100% right,
Okay.
correct, yes.
And I'm a huge proponent, being a military residential specialist, on how misunderstood that program is and what a great program it is.
It's an awesome program.
It's an awesome program. And then you also, now, you also do what is called private lending or hard money.
Right, yeah, we call it private lending. We like to keep it private. But that's the last option that we have.
But that's really a
Yes.
better option for an investor that's maybe looking to do.
Yes,
Because when it's used by homeowners, it can get a little crazy,
That is
right?
correct. That is correct. Yeah. I mean, we like to use it because some investors they don't want to go through let's call it through the situation of gathering all these taxes, all these documents, and they're gonna buy the property and sell it for 3 months. They're gonna do let's call it short term, right?
Yeah.
So what we do, we just do private. We go look at the property, very easy, and we can close within 5 to 7 days on that part after we check the property. And that's the best part about the private lending because we lending on the property. It cannot be to occupy the property. It has to be for business purpose only.
Gotcha.
Investments properties only on the private.
And I'm glad you touched on that because we share the same mindset that a lot of folks that lost their homes during foreclosure and bankruptcy and are not yet able to qualify for traditional financing
Correct.
will turn to hard money or private lending. And they don't realize in some cases that they're setting themselves up for maybe a potential problem down the line because if the terms are too short, what if it's a year?
That's what it is.
What if it's
2 years? Yeah.
2 years? In that time frame, they may not still be eligible. Now they're looking at having to sell that property if that hard money lender doesn't refinance or continue to work with them.
Tony, they get too excited because they want to move into the house.
Yeah.
They haven't owned a house for 5, 6, 7, 8 years, and they have the opportunity to do so they don't think about what can happen a year from now. You're going to go through a hard time because you have to do something a year from now. So you got to be prepared.
You have to be careful.
So the good part about being a lender is that when we do private, we ask those questions. What are your intentions to do?
Right.
Do you want to occupy the property later on? No, I want to keep it as an investment because right now they don't want to qualify. And they say, and then some people, they will qualify a year, 2 years from now to do a Fannie Mae.
Right.
So we work with that. So if they need 3 years, we do a loan for 3 years.
Right.
Or a little bit more.
Right.
That way we don't play with that. So we know for a fact that we're going to take him by the hand. We have something called the EMB body system
Okay.
in place. It's our CRM. So we put all these consumers, all these buyers there, and we're working with the private lending.
It's kind of like an incubator where you're
Right.
helping them along.
Getting them
and everything else.
ready to refinance down the road, 12,
Gotcha.
24 months on that part. But if you don't mind, I would like to talk 2 things about FHA and conventional.
Sure.
It's a program that most people do not know about it. You know that FHA, you can do 100% finance. Do you know that?
On FHA.
On FHA, you can do 100%
With one loan?
finance. One loan.
Okay.
For primary home, you have to leave the house. It has to be the first-time home buyer.
Okay.
Is the properties. You know that hot homes, they have tons of properties.
Right.
All right. And they sell it either to the person the end user, the one that's gonna live in the property. They put those houses for sale through you as a real estate professional, and you help them with that. And then after a week or 2 weeks, if somebody doesn't buy to live in it, then they leave it for the investors to buy.
Gotcha.
So now what we can do, because we are direct lenders through FHA also, if they see a property in HUD through you show them a property to your agents, to your professionals,
Right.
and it's a HUD-owned property, we can do automatically 100% finance, 0 down payment, Tony, for those properties.
That's amazing. And just for clarification, by HUD, what Gabriel's referring to is if the property had an FHA loan on it and it was foreclosed on,
Exactly.
and now the bank, which is essentially the government, right? It's an FHA-backed loan, takes possession of that property, it goes on the market as a HUD home. So you're saying that 100% financing is only on HUD homes.
That is correct.
Okay.
That is correct.
I did not know that, man. That's amazing.
Yeah, that is correct.
That you got to do a class on that.
We're gonna be anytime that you ask us to do it, we'd love to do
we'll
it.
do that. And then what about on the conventional side?
Conventional is like the Uber.
Okay.
We have something, a system that we can approve And when I say approve, check everything in 1 day. It's called the 1 day certainty. And we are direct lenders for that program. It's the digital mortgage system right now to systemize a buyer that has the W-2, not self-employed, W-2.
Okay.
We can verify that number to the work number. They have the money in the bank for 2 months, season, the money is there for 2 months, and the credit is about 620. So what we do is that we put in our system, and the system automatically start searching straight to IRS, straight to the banks, and gets the information from their system, not from a third-party entity anymore.
Okay.
And it comes back to our system and says, the money is there for 60 days. Income is good. I'm sorry, the assets are good.
Yeah.
He's making $80,000. Income is good. Then we have the income verification. In other words, in 1 day, Tony, we have already the file ready to be underwritten. And the underwriter is what it's going to do. Check something that's already been checked. We already appraised all the title. And we don't close less than 7 days because the law does not allow us as a lender to do that. So now we can close a file in 10 days.
Oh my gosh. Okay. All right. So listen, my head's really here. So I just want to make sure, because not everyone that's listening has been in the business a long time. So what you're basically saying is, once someone is under contract,
correct,
and you have a property and it's under contract, that based on the system you just talked about, that you can potentially be ready to close in
10 days.
10 days. And just to kind of, little disclaimer here, there's other issues. He may be ready to go in 10 days, but you don't have the lien search back yet, or the municipal lien search, because certain cities out there can take you a little bit longer. But I think that on the surface, that's enough reason for someone to call you and say, please tell me more about this program.
That is correct. And I would love to speak about it also here in one of the classes.
One of the things that, as a real estate agent, I preach to all of my agents and anybody that'll listen is never, ever, ever, did I say never? Ever take anybody out to show property that has not been pre-approved. Okay, and I don't mean pre-qualified, I mean pre-approved.
Pre-approved, big difference.
Okay, because you want to know, like for example, somebody can tell you, yeah, I make $100,000, and that's what these people are telling them over the phone. Oh yeah, based on that you do it. Then you see the tax returns, and based on deductions and everything, they actually made 60. Well, that's the number that the loan's going to be based on, or not?
That is correct.
So you believe in doing the same thing?
100%. 100%. Okay. I do believe that a pre-approval is the key for you as a real estate professional to be safe, to be able to take the consumer and be happy that they already have a pre-approval letter. That's 100%. You got to have it. You have to have the pre-approval letter.
One of the things I teach too that I don't think enough agents do, because you don't necessarily make a lot of friends when you do this, but you're an agent with a listing, and somebody brings you a buyer, and they bring you a buyer that's got a pre-approval letter from a mortgage company called ABC Mortgage Inc., and they spell Inc. I-N-K. You know, I would be a little worried. Okay, at least a little worried.
For sure.
And I was given a 2-minute signal, so I'll talk faster. I think it's well within the rights of a real estate agent to let that buyer know, let the agent representing the buyer know, you know what, I'm not comfortable with your lender. I don't know them. I never heard from them. At the very minimum, I need you to be pre-approved by someone that I know, like, and trust. Correct. And that person could be you. And you know going in that you may not get that deal.
And we're okay with that.
But
we are okay
you
with
at least, if I'm a real estate agent, I can go, I am a real estate agent.
Yes.
I go to my seller and I say, listen, I've had them checked out, and these people are truly able to buy.
Yes, Tony, that we and you know what happened almost 7 out of 10 times that we do that? The consumer sees that we are straightforward, we are direct. They see that we do care, and then they say, we want to do the loan with you. And at that point, we say, you know what?
Everybody wins.
Yes, right. That is correct, Tony.
All right, folks. Well, listen, Gabriel, I can't thank you enough, and I'm so glad that you're continuing to be blessed and your company is growing. Your company is a reflection of you. The people that I've had the pleasure of working with, they're Jay, Andrea, they're just awesome.
Good people, yeah.
But they're a reflection of your leadership. So real estate agents, consumers, when you're looking for a loan, when you're looking for a loan partner, EMB Lenders, okay? And you see the phone numbers are running across the screen and the website address and everything else. All right. Well, thank you
Tony,
so much.
No, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so much. And
yeah.
Also, the same thing that you told me. Extreme Realty, I mean, the name, I love the name, Xtreme. And that's what you and Gabi are. You're extreme people. You are not ordinary. You are extraordinary. Keep doing what you're doing. Real estate agents, I'm telling you, this company and have seen it when it had like 15 people, and now I don't want to say the numbers unless you want to say they're growing like crazy. I see these classes full, and we're here to support you. We're here to educate you, and Xtreme Realty, trust me, is the company to be in. All right, and don't forget something, realtors. Don't let anybody take your dreams away. You can make it happen. It's an awesome to be a real estate agent. Keep it up. God bless you.
All right, folks, we'll catch you next time on the next edition of Real Estate Talk Live. Take care.